Welcome to the Rock is George podcast. I'm your host, George Dionne, and this is episode 109. Make sure you hit that subscribe or follow button, and be sure to check us out at the loudest.com on the planet, knac.com. I have two guests for this episode, brothers Rex and ZAK COX. They are the vocalist and guitarist of Uncured. Uncured has a new EP on the way. It's going to be released June 2nd through Pavement Entertainment. And here's Rex and ZAK of Uncured to tell you all about it. If I knew absolutely nothing about Uncured, how would you describe the band's music to me?
Uncured is an active rock band with elements of metal and pop.
And you two are brothers, I'm assuming, and you have been probably playing together for a little while, but how did you bring the project Uncured together?
Well, so we've been playing guitar since we were 10 and 12 together. And like everyone who starts learning, you pick it up, you put it down a little bit, and it takes a long time to learn like any instrument. And we quit a few times, but then when we started getting a little older, 15, 16, 17, we were playing more together and we started writing songs together. And then when we were slightly older, we started recording our officially recording songs together, and I would say that was definitely like a milestone as the starting point.
Okay. You have a new EP on the way. It's called My Design. It comes out June 2nd on Pavement Entertainment. You currently released the single Let's Break Out. So let's kind of talk about what that song's about.
That song is just about not letting anything stand in your way and, pushing forward and making things happen. So it's probably our most straightforward song on this EP, but I wanted us to lead with it because I think it's a relatively bold statement. And I think that the egg is a pretty bold design as well because, it's pretty clearly about rebirth and what's to come in the future, and I guess not knowing at the same time, but it's this song is definitely the most upbeat, happy, and energetic song on the record. So I think it's a good one to lead with, and then definitely some darker songs coming up next.
Yeah, this song is definitely accessible and always one of our favorites to play live. It was on our last tour. We played it in advance, before we released it, as the last song of the set, and it was always energetic, very fun and catchy, and we just wanted people to leave the show singing something from us.
Yeah, I want to end on a high note. We got one or two that can be a bit of a downer. So yeah, no, I just think this was definitely the right song to lead with, and I think also the video is probably one of my favorite aspects of it as well because I think it's fairly unique. There's not a lot of dancing in metal, so I don't know if you've seen the video, but we have 8 dancers that are doing a choreographed dance to the song while the band is while we are playing and performing.
So you described the EP as being a little darker as it progresses. I mean, some bands have chosen the darker route coming out of the lockdowns, and some bands have chosen the positive, upbeat route. Did that kind of have an effect on how the EP is going to come out?
Most of this was written actually after that time period. Actually, all of this was written after that time period. But I also think that that people aren't just so black and white. I know that a lot of times bands want to have their aesthetic and stick to it, but I think that there's just way more of a wide variety of human emotion that everybody experiences. So I think it totally makes sense for us to have feel good, happy songs, and then also kind of more darker, upsetting songs.
Right. It's also important, we always find when listening to an album, you don't want to hear the same song every track and just a different version of it. So it's important that all the songs sound different, and it's also okay and good for it to have a different lyrical direction or message, just so it's still the same band, but you want all the songs to be unique as well.
Are you two the primary songwriters, or does Micah and Zachary kick in some ideas?
No, we're the primary songwriters. Zach King has just joined us on drums, and this new lineup though we're tighter than ever. So I feel really confident that for years to come, we're just going to be consistently getting tighter and tighter. Always trying to get better, because that's kind of our biggest, one of our biggest mentalities is just to constantly be improving or at least taking steps forward. So, like for example, after every single show, we have a post-show ritual. That's a little bit different than I guess the traditional post-show rituals. So we'll go around. Everybody will say what's one thing they did well that show, one thing they could have done better, and then comments for somebody else. And then we can get really specific. Like I would say, for example, I think that my singing accuracy was like a 7 out of 10, but maybe my like physical performance was a 9 out of 10. But you know, I made this mistake or that kind of thing. So just always on that that constant quest for improving 1% each day.
Yeah, we're like a pro sports team. After the game, we watch back the footage or the replays, the highlights, and just see like what sounded good, what looked good visually, and just like any team, we watch back the tapes and see what we can improve on the next show/game.
Well, with that in mind, do you do a lot of rehearsing before you head out there? I know I was in a local band and we didn't do a lot of rehearsing. We just threw something new out on the fly, and then eventually we refined it.
So we do 2 or actually 3 phases of rehearsing. So the very first phase is usually, I'm sure you've heard people say this referring to like orchestral music. Practice is for learning your own parts. Rehearsal is for learning everybody else's. Well, since the songs are already made and this isn't like 1800s music, everybody knows the song already. So our rehearsal is more like making sure that everybody is really locked together on every single aspect. So like if we're playing the same riff and I'm doing a hammer-on and he's doing a slide, you're going to hear a little difference, right? And now sometimes you want to do that intentionally, but other times you want it to be like identical, so it just sounds like one super thick guitar. So like things like that, we kind of choreograph or plan out between all the instruments. So like sometimes for the bass to more accurately match the guitars, we'll change this aspect when it wasn't like that on the record. So that's kind of phase 1. Phase 2 is more choreography and energy based. So like ZAK and Micah do a lot of choreographed headbanging, do the circles together. Mm-hmm. And that's one of those things that I didn't really think was important way back when. But after watching back the footage, like we talked about, when one guy's doing a circle and one guy's doing up and down, it just does not look tight at all. So, sometimes we'll have those choreographed. And then the third phase, we actually move into our gym. So, I mean, we're friends with the owners of Sweat Fitness Club. And they have a big field house. So we'll rehearse in there, film those rehearsals, listen back, watch it back. And that's kind of more like the final stage, just to make sure everything is ready on all fronts.
So I'm hearing a lot of discipline here. So I don't typically hear this from bands that they are this disciplined, that they have these steps in rehearsing. They have these analyzations after the show. So I gotta ask, where does this discipline get ingrained in you as a person?
I'm actually not sure. But I do think that, obviously your childhood experiences and stuff like that, what you participate in as a kid, like leave a pretty strong imprint on you and how you grow up to be. But I do sort of believe that it's you either have it or you don't, to some extent. And I think that we're all like hungry and driven, and we have that kind of go-getter mentality. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if it was necessarily ingrained in us, but I mean, I know that like as a kid we played a lot of sports. We did karate. Like we played a lot of sports. We did karate, and actually I still train MMA now. So I think that kind of a culmination of all of those things, and then also the fact that we are brothers. We were always in like some form of competition, mm-hmm. So like if you don't like losing, which neither of us do, you eventually become more disciplined so that, you can one up the next guy.
Right. And it's also, since we want to be a successful long-term band, you need to take all these, have all this discipline now at the beginning, because that's the only way you'll have longevity. You need to start those habits right as soon as possible, so you could see what you need to improve on those things quickly. And because there's always something else that needs to be improved upon, and we're always just trying to push ourselves to the next level each tour.
Yeah. And I actually think one other thing we forgot to mention is when we dropped out of high school, what we really did, like, obviously there's no more concept of sports because that's not what we were trying to do. So we just started lifting every single day, like without fail. And then, doing things kind of just on a stricter, basically making everything a little bit stricter. So like when we rehearse, actually, we will also have day sheets. So we'll plan out like 9 to 10:30 we'll be rehearsing, 10:30 to 11 will be a break, 11 till 3 will be like this next phase of whatever. 3 to 5, like 5 to 7 gym, like everything gets planned out. And I have realized that when you do that on your day, the day feels 2 or 3 times as long. And that's a good thing and a bad thing, right? Because you get more done, you can be wildly productive. Sometimes it can be a little bit stale just to be that rigid, but you don't have to enjoy every second of every day. You just have to get the work done.
Which also reminds me of one other step of rehearsal that we left out. But we've frequently done, like, instead of all 4 of us playing together, three of us watch one person performing. That. So when just the 3 of us watching, obviously all eyes are on you. You're gonna be more likely to screw up, but you need to get those like that added level of pressure in now before a show. And it's just something that we do that I don't think we've heard any other bands do. Just to
it's sort of like sectionals in an orchestra, right?
Right, yeah.
But it's a lot more specific because like everybody knows every note of every person's performance, right? So if it's just ZAK playing to the click by himself, that's really exposed. And the 3 of us know every note he's supposed to be playing. And if he makes a mistake, it's wildly apparent. So it does have that extra little level of pressure because it obviously doesn't make it harder to play the part, but he's more like self-conscious and aware of the fact that he's playing the part and we're analyzing him. So I think that it's not even really about training, the physical part of playing it. It's more about like trying to get him in his head and see how well he plays it.
Are you planning a physical release for the EP, or is it just going to be a digital release?
So we will have CDs available, yes, and they do have an added bonus track that's not available online, so it's only the CD. And I don't know about plans for vinyl, but I'm going to be pushing the management to get us vinyl because I sell the merch. And when we've had vinyls in the past, people always want vinyl, and it's always a hit. So CDs are a definite, vinyls are a maybe, but we are pushing for those vinyls.
Yeah, I did an interview earlier today, and we were talking about physical copies versus digital copies. And a lot of people seem to be under the impression that digital copies are no longer important. And we couldn't disagree with that anymore because every time we've ever had vinyls, they sell out. Every CD we have sells out, like physical copies at shows. And it's not because people are listening to the songs on these, through physical media. It's more like having something physical and then streaming the song just gives you a higher appreciation of it. I'm not totally sure why that is, but I think it just makes the experience a little bit more authentic. Like even if you're on Spotify, but you have the CD, you're like more connected to that work.
Well, if I went to your show and I bought a digital copy of your album, it wouldn't be the same as if I bought a physical copy and said, hey, I bought this at this show. I remember this show. It brings back the memory.
Yep. Yeah, and also we're always there between the bands to sign it. And people always like getting things autographed from the show. And we're always happy to do it. Yeah. So it's just all about that show experience because that's our favorite thing to do is play the shows. And just even like it's not just about playing, it's also about seeing us afterwards and like getting a signature or something.
But that's a good point that I hadn't thought of what you just said. I just thought it was because it made people feel like more connected to the work itself. But you're right, it's totally about the experience of that night and having like it's the same way if you to go like to Paris, you get a little Eiffel Tower thing. It's exactly like that. So I didn't even realize that.
Absolutely. Speaking of playing shows, you guys are going to be heading out in 2023. You got a couple festivals lined up for now. You got Rockville in May. You got Download Festival in June and Incarceration Festival in July. Do you primarily focus on the festivals, or do you also do like short little runs?
So what we primarily try to focus on is having like tours, whether it's like 20-ish shows in a row, things like that. With these festivals, those are like the let's say the anchors. We plan on having tour dates going into and out of them, and those are all currently in the works now. But we have a lot of a few good potentials lined up, just waiting to hammer out the details. You know how that is always tricky, and it's like just a few months away, but it's still not confirmed yet. But it's so close,
Yeah, the festivals are our anchor dates, and we're going to do a lot of routing stuff in between them. So, that definitely just makes the logistics a little bit more complicated because there's so many bands on each festival. So, like, we might be routing to one with a certain band, routing out of another, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So you're playing these festivals with some pretty big acts: Alice Cooper, Slipknot, Rob Zombie, Megadeth, Limp Bizkit, Judas Priest. No, maybe Pantera, Bush. Do you ever get starstruck being out there with kind of your rock heroes?
You know what? I don't know if people want to hear us say yes or no, but truthfully, we don't. It's fantastic to see them, and it's an honor and a privilege to get to play with those acts. But I think that the concept of starstruck is kind of unusual because at the same time they are just like dedicated musicians. So we see them as that.
True, and that probably plays into your disciplinary habits as well. But I think I've talked to some big acts who still get starstruck by acts that came before them.
That's fair. I guess it's more of a mentality, and I guess we just don't happen to have that specific mentality.
You just finished in 2022 the Living Like I'm Dead tour with, I always get this band's name wrong, LUCUNA, COIL, and Butcher Babies. You actually had the Butcher Babies appear in a video for Living Like I'm Dead. So what was that experience like?
So we had a pretty good year in 2022. We did our first ever headline tour, and that was a success. And then we followed it up later with LUCUNA, COIL, and Butcher Babies. And we've toured with LUCUNA, COIL multiple times before, once in US, once in South America. And they're super friendly and always like such a great headliner, and they're always really caring towards us and just appreciate having us out there. And Butcher Babies was the same way, very friendly, all talkative.
Yeah.
And
Butcher
they were
Babies was one of the most like friendly and inviting bands we've ever toured with. And as far as actually the process of that collaboration project went, Heidi tracked her parts right here, like right back there. And since I do most of the production and I track myself for vocals, I actually don't have anybody else in the room. It's just me. So I tracked Heidi for that song. So it was really cool to get to produce another vocalist on one of our songs. Mm-hmm. And it was specifically cool because I had already tracked those exact parts. So I got to watch somebody else, give that same performance, see the way that they do it. And I like to analyze little things. So like, for example, the way that she would stand, if it differed from take to take, like just every little detail is fascinating to me because like vocals and tracking vocals is probably my favorite thing ever. So like it was really awesome to get to do that.
You have the EP coming out in June, and prior to that, you were just releasing a stream of singles throughout 2021. You think that is that your preferred way to get the music out is through singles and then maybe an EP here and there, or are you gonna do a full album down the road?
Well, at the moment, that is what we were doing since we were still just starting out, just a few years as a band, and we have found like when we released like a full album back when we were younger, it's like not all the songs get the attention as like the first few. So now, since we're just trying to do, we have an EP, we just want all the songs to get the attention. Because if you just have, people would see, oh, Uncured released a song, let's listen to it right now. But if you see, oh, we released an hour-and-a-half album, the person's going to be like
more inclined to put it.
Oh, I'll listen to this when I have free time this weekend, and then you just put it off. So it's just like a song. Oh, listen to it.
I think so. A different way to say that is essentially in today's world, you need much more immediacy because it's hard to capture somebody's attention. So you have a better chance of capturing somebody's attention for one song as opposed to a full album. And then that goes a step further. You have a better chance of capturing their attention for 3 minutes as opposed to a 7-minute song. So
That's
you know,
true.
our songs have gotten shorter and more immediate. Let's Break Out starts right on the chorus, like instantly. That's the hook. And you know, like we talked about before, Let's Break Out is definitely kind of one of the most commercial sounding songs, and that was done intentionally. But you know, if it was just about the artistry, I think that everything would be in the context of a full album. But you know, you need to play the game a little bit. So while everything is primarily driven by the fact that you know, we love music more than anything, and playing shows is like our favorite thing. You know, the artistry drives most of the decisions. Then occasionally, you know, you gotta be aware of the landscape.
Uncured's early albums, Medusa and Epidemic, couldn't find them anywhere. I wanted to listen to them to see what they were like. Can't find them anywhere. Is there a reason for this?
Yeah, so we've back in the day we were much younger. That was like 5 or 6 years ago. We didn't know what our musical direction was going to be, and those were just songs that we wrote when we were younger, and it was like the conglomeration of years of writing, and sort of all over the place without a focused direction. So there are people that still you know, that liked all the songs, but we have them temporarily archived because we want the focus to be on the newer, more focused sound. And just so it's not like someone stumbles upon one of our older like things that could sort of a mess. And then
Don't say that.
No, but then you don't want them to write off our entire new catalog based off something we did when we were like 15 years old.
Yeah. So, and basically another way to say that is, since people make such like quick decisions about a band's entire catalog, if we just want to make the right first impression, and I think that once we become more established, you know, as a name and more well known, we will put those songs back up because, you know, like Zach said, they're not deleted; they're just temporarily archived. And I do want to put those back up because to kind of show, like, you know, the progression of Uncured. I think that's cool. It's a benchmark, and you know, we are proud of that history of the band. But you know, for right now, temporarily archived.
Right. Yeah. And sorry, what am I saying? All the no. I was going to say, I believe they're available to stream for free on our website, and I include those old CDs for free with merch orders as well, just because we didn't want to sell them, but I want to give them away with the stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
I probably should have let off with this question, but are you guys identical twins or are you just close in age?
No, I am 2 years older than Rex.
All right.
This lighting, we do look pretty similar with the hair and everything.
Yeah,
but I got longer hair.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Yeah. Those are all the questions I have for you guys. The new EP, My Design, comes out June 2nd through Pavement Entertainment. I like what I hear so far, and I wish you guys the best and good luck out on the road.
Hey, thank you so much, George.
Once again, I want to thank Rex and ZAK COX of the band Uncured. Their latest EP, My Design, will be released on June 2nd through Pavement Entertainment. Head over to your favorite music streaming app. Check out the singles they have available. If you like what you hear, go out and buy a physical copy. Support the artist. For all things Uncured, head over to the band's official website, uncuredband.com. I also want to thank Barbara Papa George of Pavement Entertainment for making this interview possible. You've been great. I've been George Dionne. I'll see you again soon.